So for those who are joining online, we are streaming, but it will be private. So we are not, at least for now, we are not planning to put it on our channel publicly, just to recording purposes. So feel free to speak openly if it makes any change. So yeah, it's yours.
Nina, who is going to take care of the children? السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا أوزع علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Can I have my bag on that?
This one?
Heavy one. Yep. What should I do this? I'm sorry, I didn't prepare myself. Sorry, it was my mistake. I didn't get quite ready for it. There is no internet connection in this country. Now, I think we have to establish how the stories of the prophets or certain people or certain tribes and individuals should be read and understood. It's not an easy subject to study the stories of the prophets. I found that many venues that we can approach the Quran, especially talking about the prophets, stories of the prophets and people. Most of the narrations in the Quran about the past experience of the people and of course their relationship with the prophets are full of dramatic descriptions, how they were destroyed, mostly. And the only reason that the Quran gives, they were destroyed just because they rejected the prophets. We have to be careful, not that they didn't believe in the prophets. They rejected the prophets, even not to talk, maybe most of the time, expelled them from the place or threatened them with death. We have to understand, not believing in the message that God sends to us is not the reason for God's destruction of destroying them in this world, leads to akhirah. But when the prophets are rejected to convey the message, that is why they get punishment from God. We have to make this separation in order to understand why these drastic scenarios have been narrated in the Quran. No. Sorry. We confuse most of the time that people receive the wrath of God. That's how it is presented because of this literal translation of the words of the Quran. This is just a literal translation, this wrath. But we have to understand what it means. It's a long discussion. But their rejection, this distinction struck my attention for lately. Not believing in God has something to do with the relationship with God and this person who doesn't believe in God. He must experience the consequence of his or her denial psychologically and personally, not in a social context. That's why they don't receive any punishment. We see this this example in the life of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Those people who did not believe in the Prophet Muhammad's message, but they were impartial and maybe neglectful, maybe busy with their own life. They didn't really take notice of what is going on. But the problem was with the leaders, political leaders, first, elite. They thought they were the, what's the word for it? Honored people, but there is a word, Eshraf in Turkish. Okay, they thought that they are qualified to lead the community. The word didn't come to my mind. Sorry.
Yes.
There's a technical word, but there's a word, not technical, really. Okay, whatever. Or those people who kept material, financial power, it means rich. These people were not happy because the status quo of the society was under threat because of the message of the Prophet brings. That's why the first time, most of the people who were comfortable to follow the message of the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salam, poor people, mostly orphans, slaves, because slaves were all everywhere in the world. So the slaves did not have any say in the society. And the prophetic message was announcing that everybody is equal. Everybody is equal as in original language, abd of God. There is one Lord, Rabb, not two. No one has the title to be called as Lord. That's the, for example, God's message brings everybody is equal in the eye of God. Everybody has the same right. So those people were not happy with it because they were exploiting the poor people. They were exploiting the slavery system. That's why the slavery system was so wide in ancient, even recently here too. When was in 18 something, the slavery was abolished. And the date?
We just saw it yesterday. What was it? Remember at the museum?
Slavery was, do you remember the date? In America, when it was abolished. Yeah.
What year?
What year? Slavery was 18 something. Anyways, yeah.
Mid to late 1800s.
So you can imagine 14,100 years ago, how the world was. So this class system was everywhere. So the prophetic message, every time they came to the people, first understood, realized that everybody has one Lord. This Lord is the Lord of the world, the universe. Not somebody is Lord of another one. Everybody has his own responsibilities, qualities, according to their own effort, not because of the birthright of superiority of some people. That's why when they are rejected, this message was rejected by a certain elite, this economic and nobles of the society. You have got the nobles, they think they are nobles, and political power, economic power, noble, and they think they are intellectuals, elite, in the people. These people opposed because they were in minority in Mecca when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ started spreading the message. These minorities were opposing. And if you notice in the history, Islamic history, all the wars during, especially the first four caliph, they were the caliph before the sultanate started in Islamic history, the wars were declared against the ruling class, not the public. That is, the army supported the ruling class, were not really making the majority of the community. So that's why people from desert, Bedouins, went to Persian Empire, and Persian Empire was what? Competing with Roman Empire. And sometimes Persians, the Persian Empire, were defeating Roman Empire, which were they have the very strong army system, trained people. That's what we have to bear in mind. And the people from Bedouins, camel drivers, camel riders, went into Iran, or now Iran, and defeated the army. How? Is it possible? Organized, prepared, the strongest army of the time. Can you imagine? let's say, for example, from Zimbabwe, I don't know how to say it. So a local tribe came to America, to the States, and defeated the American army. How do you explain it? Yeah, belief. The message was spread to the local people. Local people understood that, oh, this is a good message, especially human freedom, human equality before law. That is what the Quran also introduces. Look, take care of the poor, don't exploit it. Take care of orphans, those people or those beings in the world which are not protected by any authority on earth. They are God's property, like the example of God's camel of certain people. So they wanted to slaughter it. God's property, whatever it is, maybe exploiting the treasure or forests of the land and resources of the land. They were exploiting them because they thought they have no owner. But the prophet said, no, they have owner. Their Lord, their owner is the owner of the universe. What are you doing? You think that there's no protector here, but don't you realize that they are created by someone who owns them? You didn't create them. You cannot exploit people. What they did, symbolic example, of course, this is also Quranic narration. Salih, prophet. It's called Salih, prophet. I don't know who he is, but that's what we hear from the story. They slaughtered. And then they are destroyed. You understand the difference now. They are trying to stop the prophets, not to spread the message. That is the point. Those people, against those people, the believers, declare war, not against the people, ordinary people, believers or not believers. Doesn't matter. This is what we have to pay attention while we are studying the stories of the prophets mentioned, or the people, ancient people mentioned in the Quran. Why they were destroyed? Only the supporters are destroyed. For example, in the very typical, well-known example of the struggle between Moses and Pharaoh, Pharaoh's army, those people, not the whole population of, they call it Egypt, Cairo, or whatever the capital city was. Not only the army, he supported the ruling class, was destroyed in the sea. You got it? Not the whole population, not Egypt itself, not Cairo itself, were the people, but were they following the prophet? No. Prophet Moses? No, they were not, but they were not destroyed. Only the elite. That's what we have to understand. Why this fearful language is used in the Quran, how they are destroyed. Every nation mentioned in the Quran. We have to also notice that every nation or group of people mentioned in the Quran are destroyed in a different way. Why? This is also another aspect of principles of reading the Quran. While we are reading the Quran, we have to pay attention that every prophet and every struggle took place in the life of the prophet. Any prophet mentioned in the Quran is different from everything else. Why? Every others, they are not the same. Some of them are, again, drawn in sea, some of them are winds, some of them are earthquakes, some of them are voice, some of them are storms from. These are examples that we may experience in this world in different ways. And also we have to pay attention while we are studying the Quranic stories. The prophet is given different miracles and different lifestyle. Not the same. All the prophets are all different. Why? Because the Quran is a universal message, and in the universal message, the examples must be universal as well. Every people is different. Every people experiences different problems in their life, different types of rejection, reactions to the message of the prophets. That's why these are examples. We have to find a place that, this is my case. This really applies to me. That's why we have to pay attention that anything mentioned in the Quran is, in its nature, if you like, universal. You have to find your place in it. So which prophet is the example for my life, for my personal life, for my family life? There are all sorts of examples. Let's say orphan prophets, shepherd prophet, king prophet, a prophet, Yusuf, helping the whole nation under the leadership of a king who is atheist, doesn't believe, thinks that I am the God. What are you looking for? Pharaoh and Moses, different types of showing the miracles and the miracles of their message, and still the obstinate ruler says, no, we are not going to support you. And he's destroyed in another way. And Moses was an orphan and grown in, this is our case actually. We have to be very careful. Moses' example is perfectly fits our case. How? We are getting educations, professions, and everything within Pharaoh's palace. This is our palace. Everybody loves America. Opportunities are there. You can realize your dreams. It's perfect, isn't it? We are getting all this. Can you have an education system which is not based on secular understanding? Can you teach anything against evolution? Can you publish a paper, anything against evolution? Not criticizing it, no, not supporting it. Okay, well, these academicians are here. Can you publish a paper? What happens? What is your future? Out. Even if you are an, how do you say it, a full professor, they will kick you out. Is it right or wrong, man? No, but the people don't hear they don't see your head. Okay, should I move? Say, is it right or wrong? Yeah. Impossible. This is Pharaohic, isn't it? Pharaohic culture, Pharaoh despotism. There is no freedom. But Moses was grown in this palace. Pharaoh was Moses' foster father. Yep. We have to understand. Yeah. Do you get scholarship? A little bit. Yeah. Father is taking care of you, man. You are lucky. You understand the case? How related to us, for example. But in another circle, we may experience it in another type of life. In our family life, relatives, close relatives, you will see our relationship. It fits the story of, I don't know, Luqman, or sorry, Lot, Noah. What happened? Their wives didn't listen. How about the story of the wife of Pharaoh? Her husband didn't listen. Not the only one way, two ways. They are all examples given in the stories to us, directly related to our practical life, maybe in a larger scale, state scale, maybe in a, you are working for a company. How about the boss and you, your relationship, for example? Yeah. You have to say yes, sir. And what do you find there? Yusuf's example, Prophet Yusuf's example. He gained his credentials. First, we will study. When the king called him to come, he said, no, I'm not getting out of my prison until I am declared innocent about these gossips of women. And then this Aziz's wife confessed that it was her mistake, not his, he's innocent, and then said, okay, I can go to the palace now. And then what did? Give me the full power to take care of the administration. And then did it. These are examples, maybe in your relationship with your bosses. What are you doing in this society, for example? There are laws you have to obey. But anyway, we will study that one. So some of them, there are prophets, their children didn't listen to. Yep. Noah's example is there. How about the example of the father didn't listen to his son? Give me the example. Abraham. Yeah, if you have some sort of disagreement, be careful. It is here. With your father, you have to say, Prophet Ibrahim is my role model. I'm going to follow him. Be kind, respectful, but if you don't agree, disagree. Okay, do you understand? And say, okay, I'll ask God to forgive you kindly until the person represents his father, say, okay, go away, keep away from me, and then, okay, bye-bye. There is no submission. Examples are full of examples. That's why I say every example of the prophet in the Quran is so exciting, so real, practical life for us. Practically very real. The only thing that we have to pay attention, Quran is to every people. And we have to read the Quran as the speech, the guidance, the if you like, the written code sent to me directly. Because who is speaking in the Quran, as it says? God. Whose God is it? Your God. And can you put God within time and space limitations? that God speaks 1400 years ago, not anymore. He's resting now, as some people think. Yeah, on the seventh day, he rested. You know, you must have heard this. No. He is always creating. He is always taking care of this world, and he is always the Rabb of this world. It means the one who controls, takes care of the needs of the creatures personally. Everything created in this world is a special creation. For example, you have no peer in this world. You are unique to yourself. Who made you unique, separate from the rest of the world? The one who created you, gave you special existence, special life, special capacity, special opportunities for you. And if you really carefully read the Quran, you will understand that everybody, especially conscious beings, human beings, have their own world. No one can share your word. That's why when you pray, you say Allahu Akbar. While you are saying Allahu Akbar, what are you saying? He is the Rabb of this universe that I am aware in my being. He is the Rabb of me. He is the Rabb of my universe. This is speaking to you, so we must read the Quran as speaking to me. My Creator is speaking to me right now, knowing that these living conditions unique to me. So take it. Which verse, which example of the prophet really gives me guidance for which aspect of my life? So I will get it from there. Don't just read and pass. What is it to do with me then? God is telling me now while I am reading this verse. I must need it. That's why he's speaking to me. By definition, Quran says, it is the speech of a one whose knowledge is infinite, covers every single being. So this is the definition of the Quran. If somebody reads the Quran as revealed to the prophet, and I'm going to read and benefit from it, forget about it. Relate it to yourself. Now let's go this. I think this bases puts the foundations of how our approach, how are we going to read the story of Yusuf in the Quran. Now, for this general introduction, as much as I could remember from my notes, the previous readings. So do you have any questions, any concerns, any rejections? I love rejections. I don't agree with you. If you thought about it, suddenly said, I must speak, just giving me the opportunity. Here I am, I must also say something. Don't waste our time. If you have thought about it, if it really bothers you anything, you have doubt, then put it forward. Any?
So you said every prophetic story includes some kind of circumstance, some kind of personality that someone that may be related to your life or may be related to some other aspect of your life. In other words, this prophet was under these conditions, this other prophet was in a different set of conditions. Which one speaks to me? But you are also saying at the same time, each one, whichever conditions he has, also must speak to me. For example, one is under Pharaoh, one is under Aziz,
Whatever.
whatever. One is under a king, one is fighting against the king. One is directly in conflict with the king.
Yeah.
So you're saying that within both, I'm supposed to find myself respectively, and also one also is more helpful for me under my own conditions.
I understood. I think it's understood, isn't it? You are clever enough to understand from this. Did you understand the question? Yeah. There is no need to waste time anymore. Okay. Don't say that I am interrupted. No, this understood. How many circles we have in our life? Do you have any relationship with the state? Do you have any relationship with not only the state you live in, or in their claimed property? I don't know how do they do it, but this is my land. Where did they buy it? Well, anyways, it is a story, but that is the reality. Do you have other concerns if something happens in other countries? It means worldwide, global problems. For example, if the rainforests are destroyed, do you get annoyed? If the oceans are used for nuclear energy tests, does it bother you? Can you eat fish comfortably now? No, why? They advise don't eat fish more than once a month if it is from Atlantic and oceans. Yeah, why? Go to Alaska, North Pole. Those not polluted fish, you can eat it safely. The others are what? All cancerogen. How do you call it? Causes cancer. Does it bother you? Look, universe. Or let me ask you another question, even wider. You heard that one of the galaxies are collapsing. You say, oh, none of my business. Can you say that? Huh? No, if the galaxy is collapsing, the whole system of the universe is collapsing, going to collapse, coming. You bother. Yeah? You start saying that, are we going to destroy it one day? The solar system will also be collapsed. Yeah. So universe-wide, worldwide, and statewide. And how about your relationship with your company? How about your relationship with your economical situation of that company? How about your relationship with your family, relatives? How about the relationship with your family? How about your personal relationship with these beautiful girls? Their relationship with you? How about your personal fears, concerns? How am I going to prepare the fees for the education of my children? Which kind of responsibilities I have? How about the feeling that you heard your uncle passed away? It means he passed away, okay, but it means I am the next candidate to go. Yeah? What am I going to do? How many circles? So every prophet's example must fit in one of them. So just try. But you cannot be expert at once. I cannot be expert at once, not only you, but at least have the intention and your mind open that this is possible. Let me see if I can fit this story, this aspect of story into this part of life. If you can not, of course, no one, for example, now you are studying. You are a graduate? Oh, okay. Students, you are studying. Yeah, you are, what are you studying? Whatever, we are not being personal. It's somehow recorded, yeah? So you are studying, let's say, biology. Now, how many years are you going to study pre-med? 4. Yeah, pre-med, 4. And then another 4. And then another 2 or 3 intern. And then specialty. And then age is 35, 40. You say, I am a professional doctor now, physician or something. After 20 years, you will be retiring. And then they say, okay, go, we don't need you. All my work, I worked more than 30 years and I only worked for 20 years and that's it. And I'm good, I'm getting ready. My joke is, because I'm an old man, if you are young, try to get a house next to a good school. If you are in my age, try to get a residence next to a hospital. So it's better because you will be commuting between the house and the hospital. That's what I am doing. You look at my calendar, how many appointments I have. I'm not joking. I can show it. Really. Next Tuesday, I have an appointment with cardiology, and then dermatology, and then I know lungs, pulmonology or whatever they call it. And then, of course, I am a candidate or not a candidate, and a member of geriatrics department, old age department. I became a member. Now they called me, oh, you have to be followed by this department. I had an appointment 2 days ago, I think, or 3, with the geriatrics department. Really, it's real life. Real life. So let's go here. We see that some prophetic examples are scattered everywhere in the Quran. Typical what? Moses' story. 80-something different places they are referred. This is one extreme, not extreme, but one point. Another side is Prophet Joseph's example is mentioned in one story. One chapter, well, the section, I don't like the word chapter, but section of the Quran, one section. Why? Some of them are 10 places, refer to 10 places. Some of them are different numbers. Because we want to see some examples in this case, in another case, in another case, so that everybody will enjoy to benefit from the Quran as they think within their own capacity, this fits to me. So Prophet Yusuf's example is presented to us in one section. Almost the whole section is around the life or somehow related to the life of this prophet. Almost from the beginning to the end, almost. His father, his brothers, and we will study all the stages in his life mentioned in what? So this is very important because we will see that the prophet Yusuf, as it is presented in the Quran, is an example how a person is prepared for the mission of a prophet to be appointed, given the duty, and to be able to carry this responsibility with no failure. And then under every circumstances, look at, starting from what? Being thrown in the Well, by his own brothers. Look at this extreme example. And then going through all the stages, slavery, and then prison, and then becoming the top man of a country where he is an immigrant. Top man is an immigrant. Can you become a top man in America if you are an immigrant, if you are not born in America? You see how Quran is far-fetched. A foreigner is trusted to help and take care of a country altogether. Although this country has a king, this prophet is going to take care of the material needs of this whole country as an immigrant. Unimaginable even now in this age. We are proud of democracy, liberalism, equality. All of them are far behind the vision of the Quran that we are presented to. Far beyond. Do you see that? It is something unimaginable for any people. If you go to a certain group of people from certain race, and if you are not from the race, from that race, do you feel comfortable in a very free, really? But I think America is the freest country in the world nowadays. Do you have any other freedom? Another better freedom? For at least for your personal choices? No. And here, how do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable as not having the same color, skin color, and the accent like my accent? You know, everybody asks, are you from Iran? Where? So they know that I have a very heavy accent. If you ask me, I am a perfect English speaker. That's what I feel. Yeah, are you? So everybody says, by the way, where are you from? I'm a white man, why do you ask me? So, your accent. Okay. Still discrimination, isn't it? So you don't feel comfortable in certain areas. That is how the world is backward, according to the vision of the Quran as it is presented in this story of Joseph. MashaAllah. This story encompasses all stages of the life of Prophet Muhammad. If you notice, he went to Medina. He didn't go to Medina. He was invited to Medina. And in Medina, he was offered to take care of the administration. Some sort of similarities. He was an orphan, and his first profession was shepherd. Yeah, as a young person, he was a shepherd. Innocent, honest shepherd. Is it bad to be shepherd? No. No, it was somehow prophetic profession. Yeah, but what happened at the end went through until he became the establisher of an administration in the middle of nowhere. Even the Romans, neither the Persian army didn't disdain to invade this land. It's not worth it. Arabian Peninsula was not invaded that time with any power. It is worth nothing. Just neglect these people. They are worth nothing. Even they didn't pay attention to. In the middle of this desert, together with that time were the Bedouins, almost no education, no civilization. A new administration emerged, challenged all world. In how many years? Changing the lifestyle of people, understanding, worldview, even the way they eat, they sit, they speak. Can you imagine? How to behave, their relationship, how to inherit, how to do business, how to get education, that much details, up to how to administer a big society and be just administrator, ruler, and establish the truth on the world, spread it to other parts of the world. So powerful in 23 years. Now, I know, if I'm not mistaken, there is a father here who has, what is the eldest of your children? 20? 3.
23.
Now, the revolution in the minds of the people took in this time. I'm not blaming you at all, and I don't, because I am a very, very typical failure in this sense. How many people did we change in our life in 23 years? But totally, as if from top to top, everything changed. The way you read, you see it. Now I see that you don't see it in a way that is not trained and educated and advocated by the Prophet. Respect affected you. The way you came in and said, Assalamu alaikum. Again, prepared by the Prophet message. Now, for example, the way you dress, the way you shape your appearance, Prophet, the way you speak, the way you have a social, political, economical relationship with the rest of the world, shaped by the way you see the world. For example, as you are walking by, can you just pull down a branch of a tree and break it? Why? Who taught you that you have to respect the creature of God who is the Lord of this world? You have no right to interfere into the life of a branch of a tree with no purpose. Who taught you this? That is how our life from all aspects are shaped by the leadership of the Prophet in 23 years. I don't know. As we are, I love the writings of Nursi. So Nursi says, take your 100 philosophers, sociologues, anthropologues, whatever you call them, psychologists, whatever you call them, go to a Bedouin country and try to change them according to their philosophy in 23 years. I think they will be killed. Not success. They themselves will lose their life, I believe. I think the Bedouin will say, what are you talking about? But this is how reality of the life we are experiencing. Okay. Why this is important? Why I mentioned this? All stages of life has gone through in the life of Joseph, as well as in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam. That is why this section of the Quran is revealed in the middle of his mission. 10th year of his mission, 10th, 11th, just before the migration took place. Wonderful, isn't it? The past is already experienced, familiar, but there is a hidden message there saying, hey, your future is represented in the life of the prophet. You will be the top people. Everybody will be under your administration. You will take care of them without exploiting them. Did Joseph exploit the people, an opportunity he was given? Saved the whole nation. And this, it's so interesting. This nation, the prophet Yusuf, I'm used to Joseph, so I'm changing the language a little bit, adapting myself to the atmosphere. So Yusuf, I speak to usually with a free language. So Prophet Yusuf saved the people who did not believe even in God. That is an example for us. We have to be kind. We have to help. We shouldn't destroy even the life, social or personal life of unbelievers. We have to do our mission. That is their responsibility to take notice of it or not. That is up to them. They are free. But we have to be always right, on the right path, inshallah. So this is important to notice why this message was revealed in the middle of the life of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam. So it is an example, at the same time, the Prophet, how the Prophet is prepared and struggled for his mission and then ended up with success, also is presented in this example of the Prophet Yusuf. So we see that we have to see the prophets are not really accidentally chosen. They are under the, as the Quran says, they are under our eye observers. Every stage of their life is our control. We are educating, taking care of, guiding, and giving different examples, or being an example in different way than the other prophetic examples, so that the people will benefit from it. Yeah. So when we read the example of a prophet, we shouldn't think that it is a personal choice that is important. It is, well, for example, nowadays we keep hearing, oh, you know what? The Prophet Muhammad was a man as well. Of course, he received the message from God. No, he conveyed the message and tried to apply it in his life, but my life is completely different from his. So I have to take care of my life by myself, but the message is universal. That is what was accepted among the students of the Quran, if they are study at all. But followers of the Quran, but they don't study. That is the common trend. The Quran is not really studied by its own followers as it deserves to be. Yeah. Reading is not studied, by the way, but it is worth, you read it, keep connection. It's not better, much better than nothing, but it must be a preparation to study the Quran. Now, no. Okay, I'm just following my notes here. Yeah.
Photos, just there are some printouts there just behind you. You can.
No, we are not there yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Introduction will take a couple of, not couple of, at least this session, but some of the next section as well, inshallah. Now, as it is mentioned in the section of Yusuf, that this, or in the Quran in general, these prophetic examples are given different examples, and historical examples are narrated in the Quran. That is an interesting question for me. Why the Quran narrates the stories of the other prophets? Because they belong to ancient ages and ancient traditions. Why does it mentions them to us? The one thing is extremely important for us to notice that every prophet is presented in the Quran as confirming the message of the previous prophet in different environmental setting. Every prophet says, my father, the typical language is my grand generation, ancient, how are they called? My forefathers said, I'm saying the same thing. Why? Because first, the way the universe is created doesn't change. The order of the universe doesn't change. Yeah. But the things in it, in this set order, is miraculous, mind-blowing. The order doesn't change, but every moment what is created within this order is different. How can you explain this? Challenge the materialists. Challenge the materialists. Challenge your biologist teacher. Yes, the order is the same. Laws, they call it laws of nature. Okay, use their language for the settings purpose, although there is no nature, so that there is no laws of nature. There is no nature. What is nature? The universe is there. What are they talking about? There's about the laws, the principles, orders. Do they change? The orders of, they call it, let's use their language in quotation marks. Natural laws. Do they change? No. But everything is created, especially apparent in the living creature's life, different. What does it mean? That's one very, very serious question to me. It can only be explained that this one who is creating the universe within an order, but changing every moment, everything in it. I am the one who is not subject to my order. That is the one. I established the order, but don't misunderstand that I am subjugated to my order. No, no, no. It is always under my control. I can create everything with this order differently from the rest of the universe. What a challenging, impossible to answer, challenging the way of creation. This way of creation doesn't change, but the conditions in it constantly changing. So the creator of the universe must send the same order of message with a constantly changing living situations. It is necessary. That is why the same message is repeated by every prophet, but the examples are given completely different. Wow. That is why we call it in Islamic tradition, miraculous way of creating, miraculous way of employing. The prophets, miraculous. It means you cannot explain within the limitations of this universe. It is it's mind-blowing to me.
What can you cannot explain the nature of the change of the universe.
No. You cannot explain how the things are created differently within a certain set of never-ending order. Who is doing that? Order itself should repeat itself. Huh? For example, you are opening this door. Next year, it will open in the same way. This is the door. Works in this way. I know the building. I know how it works. But in the creation, is everything changing? A month ago, everything was almost green. Now it is like me falling down. It's called fall. So different, yeah. Human nature. Although every human being has its own individual characteristics, my name is Ali, so I am Ali and nobody is like me. It doesn't mean that I'm superior or inferior, but nobody is like me. I'm unique. Do you remember, Adam? You taught me how to pronounce unique. I was pronouncing it, stressing the first syllable. Oh, this is misunderstood. Brother, don't say this. Your father taught me. He's my teacher, by the way. So, okay, alhamdulillah, I'm proud of him as my teacher. So everybody is unique, but how about the way the human beings are created is within an order? And you say that, the child, how old is she? We say, okay, 1.5, 16 months, oh, she will start speaking. How do you know? That's how human beings are created. And we have eyes, we have nose, we have tongue, we have appearance, we have emotions. Everybody has emotions, but your emotion is unique to you, not mine. So my reaction, that's my typical example, there is an, for example, God forbid, accident happened there, and let's say 20 people witnessed the accident. And then judge said, okay, you witnessed the same accident? Okay, sit here and describe me. The judge will get slightly different, 20 different explanation, description of the act. What does it mean? Everybody's own word, his own word. So the Quran also mentions all these main milestones of human history in the narrations of the prophetic messages. The same message, but practical examples are different. So it is if you like, from one aspect, this nature of the Quran reminds me from one aspect, the history of human race or the universe. From another aspect, history of a man's own living journey, life journey. But that is why we found in the Quran in the Revelations, the examples of the previous prophetic practices tied up to each other at the same time, saying that they are the same line supporting each other. What do we find in philosophy, history of philosophy? Every philosopher rejects the previous philosopher and said, he made a mistake, or she made a mistake. I'm going to reestablish my model of thinking. Explain. So in one aspect, the prophetic lineage of the prophetic messages are following each other by confirming. On the other side, opposite side, they call it the philosophical productions, human productions, follow each other by rejection. You see the clear distinction between the two. That is why we see that in the Quran, all different examples of the previous prophets and the experiences of the previous nations are mentioned and narrated. So we see that from one aspect, they are not human history. From another aspect, they are not the stories of the ancient, no, they are the stories of human race. And plus they are the stories of my own life servant, my own life journey. So I found that the example of the story of Yusuf in the Quran presents my life story, personal life story, in the example of a prophet. Yeah. In other, that's what I'm looking at.
Sorry, can I ask a question? You said in philosophy, philosophers, they disregard the previous ones. The prophets, what did you say? Prophetic stories are confirming each other.
Yeah. So one of them is confirming each other, but giving the different practical examples of the practice of this same never changing message, which is called in Islamic tradition, Tawheed. Tawheed is essential to all of them. There is one Lord, Rab of this world. That's it. Finish. Never becomes two or shared by something else in all prophetic messages. None of the prophets claim that they have some also personal ideas in it. No. All they say, I have no personal idea. I am under the guidance of my creator.
I have a question. If I'm allowed to, I'm not wearing my glasses, so
There are some people, I think, older than you. They contributed. Really, I was happy with the contribution. So
when we say the prophets confirm the previous prophets, so we kind of only know this from Quran. But when we look around and when we interact with other prophetic traditions, let's say other religions, we don't see this unity much.
No. Those religions follow the revelation and attribute themselves to a prophet, not a philosopher, but a prophet. All the fundamentals, they agree. God is the creator, but the personal interpretation of understanding of God changes. But order of the universe never changes, but the practical manifestation continues to change. So they believe in the hereafter, but some of them says this hereafter is only for believers, and the others may say for not the believers. But the notion of believing in the hereafter is in all the religion attributing themselves to a prophetic message, revelation. Let's say prophets or employed by God is also commonly accepted. And God speaks and employs certain people with the message also is included. And also, strangely enough, why I say strangely enough, because it is not really given detailed explanations in the previous ones. God is angels or something. What does it mean? Commonly accepted And everything is under the control of God, which is called divine determining, is also under control of God. If you speak to Jewish people, for example, following Torah, they say God employed certain prophets to give the message, to warn the children of Israel. If you speak to Christians, they say God employed Jesus to represent. Some of them said some of them said his best example on earth. But the main notions are all there. Inshallah. Excuse me. Okay. Now, in the Quran, what is new? Not the fundamentals, but the way it is presented, for example, in the story of Yusuf that we are, if we have time.
9 minutes. Right?
Yeah. Okay, let's complete with this, my note 3. So, but it's a long introduction. The others will not be long, inshallah. Now, in the Quran, we see that very, very detailed analysis of human psychology. All the psychologies. Now, we will see in this story. You might have heard the story. I mean, who didn't hear the story of Yusuf? In general, do you have an idea? Yusuf was thrown into and then became a administrator, and then somehow went through some sort of slavery. This is enough to understand that. Just a base. We may go into details as the verses related to the life of the Prophet Yusuf. We may go into details, but we see that all sorts of, almost all possible main trends in human psychology are really studied and presented, described in details in the story of Yusuf. So if you want to cure yourself for any psychological disorder, so many disorders, I checked, everywhere is available now. You don't have to be professional, but of course, sometimes you are misled by this search engine of Google. They call it now this Sheikh Google. So the Google says how many kinds of disorders the psychology is dealing now. I don't know. Lots of disorder. I didn't know that they are all possible for a human being. Yeah. These kind of things, not biological reasons from your birth, the brain and membrane or something divided. These are biological reasons beyond one's choice. But what we have developed psychological disorders through not following our way that we are created, the way that we are created, and deviating there, causing clash between the harmony of the human psyche. So love is good. Simple, starting from simple. Love is given to us. Hate is given to us. Yeah. Security, sense of security is given to us. Sense of not anxiety is given to us. So they must be used anger and also forgiving, lenient attitude. We can take two of them. Using your brain, not using your brain at all, possible. Using your emotions totally or not using your emotions, being completely rational, possible. And all of these contradicting human reality, do you say? How human spirit is, all this contradicting human side, human feeling side or emotion side must be used in their proper places. Anger must be used in a place. We cannot say that there is no anger. No, it is in me to anger. Where the prophet used his anger, we will look at it in the prophetic stories, especially in the life of the prophet, where he was angry, where he was completely forgiving, loving, and sometimes rejecting. Where he was using them? If we are not careful and not use these senses in their proper places, we call clash between these opposing sides of emotional tendencies. And as a result of this clash, disorder. No, if you are doing an experiment in the lab, if you contradict two principles of the setting of this lab experiment, what happens? Result, collapse, disorder. That's what I'm not a psychologist at all. I read only one book in psychology. That's it. And I said, oh, it's not my business. I cannot do it. So, because it was secular and it wasn't based on right reasoning. So I said, okay, should we have to stop? No. Anyway, I'll deal this human psychology. In the Quran, and especially in the story of Yusuf, we see that how Yusuf was resilient to the demands of the people, how Yusuf was so resolute in the demand of the wife of every man. Oh, amen. Wife of every man. How he was accepting being thrown into the well and not rebelling, but at the same time, how he was rejecting when the king called him, come here to my palace. He said, no, I'm not coming. I'm not coming. Why? Because I must be declared as innocent so that when I come there, no one should have an excuse to reject it. Because we will see that although it is not clearly described except in one place in the life of Yusuf, he was not fulfilling prophetic message, spreading it. In the prison, he told two people, that's it. But because he was a prophet, we know that he is going to use all these opportunities to spread his message. Because his mission is prophethood. His mission is not really serving as a, how do you say, a financial department, head of the department. How do they, minister, or how do they say in America? Finance, secretary of finance. He wasn't a secretary of finance. His profession was what? Because I'm giving the wisdom and knowledge, ilm and hikmah. So for what? In order to spread God's message. So while he was doing all this duty, he was really spreading the message and making the people's mind and establishing their trust as the first thing the Prophet Muhammad established in the minds of the people as a person to be trustworthy. And then spreading the message. Yeah. If the prophet had lots of troubled life with lots of distrust by the people, and then say suddenly, I am employed by a God, who would believe it? Who would take him seriously? That is what we see in the life of the prophet Yusuf. When it is time to confirm it, confirm it. When it is time to reject it, reject it. Stands and uses his emotions in the right place, right time. That's why we see the same comfortable Yusuf in the well, same comfortable Yusuf to be a slave, servant in a family, same comfortable person with no rejection in prison, same comfortable person, confident in what he is doing, and when he is the top administrator of the country. No change, because every human tendency is used in its place. So there was we see no disorder, psychological disorder in the life of the Prophet Yusuf. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Any question? You said a question. Forgot. Yeah. وَلَا تَنْسَى إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Did you understand the verse? You are not going to forget except what God wills. Okay, if you remember, come on, go ahead. Otherwise, we will end the class.
Yeah.
Today, this session.
Comfortable during thrown in the well,
Huh.
not showing a hand, you use the word resoluteness when being thrown in the well.
Rejecting God's decision because it was his beyond power. It was his beyond power. But when it was within his power in prison, the king called him, come here. He said, no, I'm not coming to the palace, top position, unless I am declared innocent. That's a beautiful example. Some of the really amazing beauty we could get for us. So we have to be careful about our psychological disorders. Simple. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum. What is the program? Are you going to announce it?
Yeah, inshallah, we are going to take wudu, go to Jumu'ah, and the next session will start at 1:30.
1:30 Eastern time.
Yes.
Inshallah, 1:30 next session. But I hope it won't be as long as this one and boring. Inshallah. I mean, you don't have to be kind, but thank you. Okay, not disappointing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.